In this video, I'm going to demonstrate production of a chocolate chip cookie using the creaming method for making cookies. The creaming method is as follows. You're going to start with soft butter, room temperature soft butter, and you are going to cream. That means using the paddle attachment, the fat, and the sugar, in this case 2 sugars, brown sugar and white sugar, together until you form a paste. The risk here is over creaming. The more that paddle turns around and around and around, the more air is introduced to the mix. The more air that's introduced into the mix, the more your cookies tend to spread. And we're not interested in that. So we're going to paddle the soft butter, the brown sugar, and the white sugar together until we have a paste. That's creaming the sugar and the fat. Okay? Once that's done, of course we're going to have to scrape down periodically in between to make sure that we have an even mix. That tends to be one of the biggest problems when people make creamy method cookies. They don't scrape down the sides, and especially off the bottom of the bowl, to make sure that that cream is uniform. But once you have a uniform cream, we're going to add in the eggs and the vanilla extract. Everything at this point should be at room temperature. So the butter is at room temperature, the sugars are at room temperature, the eggs and the vanilla at room temperature. The reason that that's important is we want everything to come together and as best as possible form an emulsion. An emulsion is best formed when all the ingredients are at the same temperature, and that temperature is between 60 and 70 degrees. So into this mixture of primarily fat, we're going to add eggs and vanilla, which are liquids. Emulsions, liquids and fats, don't typically like to blend together. They don't play well together. However, everything at the same temperature tends to make that happen a little bit easier. This goes into the creamed butter and sugars just until it's combined. Scrape down, make sure everything's nice and even. Then we're going to add our dry ingredients, which we will sift. In this case, the dry ingredients are salt, baking soda, and all-purpose flour. Okay? We're using baking soda, an ingredient that reacts with an acidic ingredient. Where's the acidic ingredient or ingredients? Well, brown sugar can be a little bit on the acidic side, and chocolate can be a little bit on the acidic side. Sift the dry ingredients into the mixture of the creamed butter and sugars with the eggs and the vanilla. In goes the chocolate chip, the internal garnish, and paddle just until everything comes together. I finished creaming the butter and the 2 sugars together. And as you can see, the mixture is completely uniform, and it's a dense, heavy paste. Some recipes that call for the creaming method, which by the way is also a cake mixing method, call for adding other ingredients besides the sugars to the fat. Things like cinnamon or salt or lemon zest. All of these things can be added to the fat and creamed together. The rule is the only 2 categories of ingredients that don't get creamed in the creaming method are the flour and the chemical leavening agents. The flour and the chemical leavening agents we have are here, and I'm going to sift those together when it's time, before it's time to add them in. Next step, as I mentioned, was to take the eggs and the vanilla and add that to the creamed mixture. Now, you can see that there's whole egg in there, the yolks. If I add those yolks into the creamed mixture, I'm going to have to paddle until those yolks are broken up. That is going to add more air to the creamed mixture. So what I'm going to do is take a minute and scramble those eggs beforehand so that when I add this mixture to the creamed mixture, I don't have to paddle any more than I have to. So, this is going to go into here. Gotta love these silicone spatulas. Everything comes out of the bowl. Alright, so I'm going to take this over, put it on my mixture, and make a uniform blend out of these two components. I've incorporated the eggs and the vanilla. The mixture looks like this, uniform. You can see a little bit of dampness there. Not a problem, that's what we're looking for. Very uniform. And now it's time to add the sifted dry ingredients and the internal garnish, in this case the chocolate chips. This is all-purpose flour. Cookies are sometimes made with pastry flour as well. Sifted dry ingredients. Now, some recipes will have you incorporate the flour into the sugar, butter, egg, and vanilla mixture and then add the chocolate. I'm going to add the chocolate chips with the flour in order to cut down on the amount of mixing, the amount of air into the mixture, and the amount of spread in the final cookie. That's what we look like right now, and I'll be right back with the finished cookie dough. Alright, the cookie dough is mixed. Looks like that. You can't see, but when I turned this dough over from the bottom to the top, it was completely uniform, and that's what you're looking for. The dough is very dense, smells amazing, and tastes really good too. And I say that not because, you know, I like to eat raw cookie dough, but you need to taste the dough to make sure it tastes right. Too much of the chemical leavening agent, too much salt, not enough sugar, all these things will affect the flavor of the dough. And the point is, you don't want to go to all the trouble to prepare a dough like this, bake off all the cookies, and then find out that there's something wrong with them. So taste the cookie dough, and really I don't want to hear anybody say, oh my gosh, it's got raw eggs in it, I'm going to die. That's not going to happen, because I'm not asking you to eat the entire thing. I want you to taste the dough. And on an aside, I would venture to guess that most of you have already tried raw cookie dough at some point in your life. So, let's talk about portioning the cookies. Today when we portion the cookies, we're going to be using a portion scoop like this. They come in different sizes. This one is not numbered, but usually somewhere on the Swisher bar or somewhere on the back of a portion scoop there's a number. And that number relates to the number of level scoops it takes to fill a quart. So, the smaller the scoop, the bigger the number. Okay? If this was a number 100 scoop, it would take 100 scoops to fill a quart. If this was a number 10 scoop, it would only take 10. So, the bigger the number, the smaller the scoop. Now, how do we do this? We want each cookie to be exactly the same. So a perfectly level scoop is what we're looking for. This comes out, gets placed on a sheet tray lined with parchment paper. Leave about 3 fingers in between, because these cookies will flatten and spread a little bit. Right up the side of the bowl. And I'm going to go 3 across, and then what I'm going to do is go down 1 row this way to see how many I'm going to fit. For instance, I'm going to go 1, 3, 4. I'll go 3 by 4 on this half sheet tray. That way there's enough space, and by laying out the portions one across and one down, I know what will fit, and I don't have to go back and rearrange to make sure there's enough space on the tray for each cookie. Okay, I've portioned the cookies onto the tray. You can see 3 by 4. There's plenty of room in between. By doing this and doing this, I knew exactly where the scoops were going to go. The next thing I'm going to do is wet my hand just a little bit and give each cookie a little bit of a press. And now I'm going to put the cookies in the refrigerator, let them set up, let the gluten relax a little bit, and then I'll bake them at somewhere between 325 and 350 degrees until they're done. How do I know when they're going to be done? They're going to look like perfectly baked chocolate chip cookies. I'm also going to, at some point when they come out of the oven, lift one up and look at the bottom color. You all know what a chocolate chip cookie, properly baked chocolate chip cookie looks like, and that's what we're going for. The chocolate chip cookies are done. I took them out. They're cool. That's what we're looking for as far as the bottom color goes. There's the top color. Same size, just about. There we go, chocolate chip cookies made with the creaming method.